Hello, BookTube. It's Tuesday, so it's time for a book tag. It's been a while since I've done any tags, and it's your worst nightmare. I'm starting back. Starting back with one that I was tagged in late November by Bill Ruttenberg. It's called the BookTuber Favorites Tag. At that time, I was sort of cooling my heels and trying to, and well, I knew the outcome of my redundancy would be redundancy, but it just took forever. So I just didn't have the energy or the will at that moment to make videos until I was sort of reconciled with everything and sort of made plans and setting things in motions of what I'm going to be doing. And so I started. I knew by Christmas time that I'd be back in the new year. So I started something with a Christmas video, and then January 1st. So here we go. I'm back doing videos. We'll see how everything goes. And the this is an interesting um, uh, tag. It's a very difficult one because it's asking for single names for stuff. I don't know. I find that hard to do. It's like asking my name, my favorite book. Ooh, that's very difficult. But the one is a booktuber you've watched the longest. That is actually quite easy. Well, there's two, but one just nudges the other out slightly by either possibly a day or two. The oldest would be Johnny Keene. In 2017, September, I spent the month in hospital with a raging cellulitis infection in my leg. I was let out near the end of September after I think about 20 some days, but I was still needed to be hospitalized in the sense of needing care. So I was restricted to home, my room here, and my leg up, and nurses coming in once a day to administer a whole cocktail, I'll call it that, cocktail of antibiotics, and change the dressings and keep an eye on things. And that lasted basically right till the end of October. So, a couple things. Obviously, I wasn't going into work then, and nothing was set up for working from home. So I was sitting here twiddling my thumbs. Yes, reading a lot, but I also, while I was reading, there was a few things that came up. I was reading some essays by Umberto Eco, and there was reference to his library. I think maybe in a preface or maybe in one of his essays. So I was curious to see. So I did a search on YouTube, and I found a few things, but also with the word library came up, um, was Johnny Keene's um, channel. So I started watching his because I said what came up was one of his library tours of his lower floor, his piles of books. So I found that kind of interesting. I started watching him, seeing, and I was watching some of the book hauls, and I thought, oh, this is cool. I like the book hauls. I like to see what he's picking up. Especially the fantastic stuff in thrift shops. Um, and then I think very very shortly after that was Amy at the Dusty Bookshelf. Like literally, it must have been within a week. But there were dozens of others that I looked at and and watched for a while. But I got tired of them only being, um, young adult orientated booktubers, and it just didn't thrill me. So for months and months and months and months, maybe possibly 6 months, that's all I watched pretty well was Amy and Johnny Keene when they made videos. So I wasn't a prolific booktuber at that time. I think it took into mid to late 2018. I started branching out and finding others. But number two is a booktuber you just started watching. Now, I haven't just started watching anyone because I've been on sort of a hiatus for uh, sort of late November until the beginning of January. I didn't search out and look at new booktubers at all. I watched as much as I could of the subscribers that I have, but I did fail at a lot of that. I didn't see everything. But I think one of the last ones, and it could have been very well the last one that I'm still watching, is the Bookish Bryants, Scott and Becky. Uh, I can't for the life of me remember exactly when, but it could have been October of last year, September, October. And that's probably the last one that I'm still watching. Like, again, I will add others and watch them a little bit, but if they don't sort of thrill me in any way, it's just sort of like sometimes clogs up my listing, so I unsubscribe from them. Sadly, but yeah, if they're not dealing with books, or they're like they've got like a million followers and all they do is jump around and scream, you're not going to get a viewer out of me very often. So yeah, so I think it's the Bookish Bryants would be the most recent one. And the booktuber you've become friends with. This is number 3. Now, I was struggling with that a little bit because I had always thought that you can't really be full friends with people that you don't know, that you don't see face to face. It's been a bit of a sort of bugaboo about me, but it's changing because as things are changing, the people are becoming more online, and there's like, for social media wise, like this is only 3 years just over 3 years that I've been on BookTube. There is Twitter people that I've been following, and we've been discussing for a decade or more, and I firmly think of them as friends. So yeah, so there are booktubers that I feel that I've become friends with. Mark Richardson, Jason Harrigan, um, John David. We don't discuss that much with some of them, but I feel there's a lot of friendship there. Maybe even Steve Donahue. Yeah, even Steve Donahue. Uh, Sorry, Steve. But yeah, and it's just like Bill Ruttenberg. I'm sure I'm gonna miss Amy at the Dusty Bookshelf. Um, Todd at the Todd's Bursting Bookshelf. It just sort of goes on. I think if we're not fully friends at this point, I think there's friendships in the making with a lot of booktubers here. Number 4, a booktuber you get most of your book recommendations from. Now, there's no one that I get sort of direct recommendations usually generated. Sometimes somebody will mention a specific book and say, if you mention this, you should try this, and sometimes that happens. But generally, what I get it is from the booktubers who do book hauls and shelf tours. I love book hauls because there's sort of a serendipity about it. You don't know what's gonna uh, be hauled, and even the booktuber, when they go, and especially if they're going out and looking for books, they didn't know what they were gonna get. So I really enjoy that, and I also like the shelf tours because a lot of times it depends on the booktuber. What's on their shelf is sort of the refined sort of collection that they've gone through other books and discount, got uh, not discounted. They just got rid of other ones that didn't quite come up to snuff for their collection. And I've got to learn to do that more. I do it, but I've got to do that more. And that's a project for 2021 for me, is to revamp my collection and get stuff shelved. As you can see, it's getting pretty messy in places. But anyway, you haven't seen the other view from the other angle, what I'm looking at, which you won't. um, but yeah, and So and yeah, that's where I get recommendations from, if you want to call them recommendations. I either, or I have been in the past, like if it's a book, oh yes, that's, I'm really interested in that, or that fits in with something I'm interested in. I will look it up, and if I get a really cheap copy, I might order it. But usually they just wind up on lists, either written down in a notebook or online. Number five, a booktuber you watch who reads genre you don't. Now, I'm taking a genre in the sense of, well, I'll explain. I think there's really only two. Steve Donahue uh, reads uh, romance books, and Becky at Bookish Bryant's reads romance. It is a genre I do not read, really at all. The next close one is sort of comic books, but I have been known to read comic books. It's been a while since I have, but under the right circumstances and the right writers, I will read comic books. But that sort of covers a lot of booktubers. But I would say romance. Because the others, like there'll be subgenres of a genre that I read. Like for instance, history. I read history, but a lot of times not the same history as say Steve Donahue, Bill Ruttenberg, Jason Harrigan, or Mark Richardson and Peggy at at the history bookshelf. Uh, Other than Jason Harrigan, most of those read a lot of uh, American history, North American history, more than I think anything else. Or at least they concentrate on that. Steve Donahue, well, it's uh, hard to know exactly what he concentrates on. um, but uh, but yeah, and like even Alan at the Lonely Bookshelf, I think he's got himself now. Um, Alan Paswell. He reads a lot of Russian history, which not so much for me. Um, I have done, and I have done read American history, but less so. And Jason Harrigan reads, uh, well, some stuff that I read. Um, Not so much. I haven't read so much on the Crusades for a long, long time. But occult stuff, yeah, a little bit. I dabble in occasionally. I like to read more, but yeah. So those are the types of things that has happened with uh, genre wise, I suppose that I don't. But it's like still history, so I still class it as similar. Sorry, I got distracted by a notification popped up on the phone here because I'm using it as reading the prompts. Um, a book. Yeah, number six, a booktuber whose videos make you happy. I can't. It's like there's so many. If you do a book haul or a book haul or a shelf tour or something like that, you've got me. That makes me happy. And then any others are sort of, oh, if I haven't seen that person in quite a while, it's great. Like John David, he doesn't make that many videos, so I'm happy to see any new video of his. Andrew B. So yeah, a booktuber you'd love to do a buddy read with. Well, I sort of have within the last week um, forced myself, shoehorned myself on possibly a couple buddy reads. A week ago, approximately, Amy at the Dusty Bookshelf mentioned that she was doing a buddy read with Hannah of Hannah Books, um, of Michael Schmidt's The Novel biography. Just a behemoth of a book. It's over 1,200 pages, I think. It's almost, yeah, about 1,200 pages with the index and so forth. and footnotes and everything and bibliography, yada, yada, yada. And I've had this sitting here for over a year. And I just haven't got to it. So I thought, oh, well, I might sort of join in on that. Whether officially or not, I'll probably read along their schedule, a chapter a week, um, and just see how it goes. The other one is Mark Richardson and Scott of the Bookish Bryants. Um, they are starting in February a reading, buddy read of Hyperion by Dan Simmons. It's a fabulous series, or well, the book and series, the Hyperion Cantos. Uh, Noah at Everyone Who Reads Must Converse has done some great, because it's done a bit of the rounds on BookTube recently. I've already read the whole series several times. I didn't realize until I started looking again when I last read it. And it seems like 2010 is the last time that I've read Hyperion and the whole Cantos. So it was like, oh, it's about time to read it again. So I've sort of pushed myself into their read along, or a buddy read. Um, Others, I don't. Actually, John David, if you're up if we could sort of combine with some, I'd love to do a buddy read with you, because I do enjoy your insight on the books that you do read, and well, you converse about, and do a book review, which I always enjoy. Uh, let's see here. Number 8, a booktuber with under 1,000 subscribers that you love. Well, there's many. There's Bill Ruttenberg, Jason Harrigan. I know I'm going to miss people, so I do apologize. Alan Braswell, the Lonely Bookshelf. Todd's Bursting Bookcase. Jack at the Rambling Rack on Tour. I know I'm going to miss people. Bookish Bryants. Yeah, sorry, I know I'm drawing a blank on some. Andrew B. I think he's under 1,000. There's a number. So mostly everybody who like if I'm not following the person that I'm not interested in. Well, there's ones that I'm sure that I don't know about yet, so I shouldn't discount those. And then the next question is booktuber with over 1,000 subscribers that you love. Again, that's I've sort of mentioned some of this. John David, Mark Richardson, Amy at the Dusty Bookshelf, Steve Donahue, Johnny Keene. They're all over 1,000. And it's asking me, who do I tag for number 10? I think most people have done, or a lot of people have done this. So, and I'm very late to this, so I won't tag anybody. But if you're interested, then please do. I'll see if I can add the questions down at the bottom, because I got my computer back working again. I just haven't been able to do that kind of thing with my phone. So I'll get that up and sorted as soon as possible. Anyway, take care, BookTube. I'll see you next time.